Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Draft Day. It's FPC Radio Live, and it is Thursday, April the 29th. It is day one of the NFL Draft. We are finally here. And folks, yes, you only see me on the screen right now. And if you tuned in yesterday, you know that we finally had a breakthrough on this show. That's right. I finally proved that Bigfoot is real. Yes, Mike D'Abate is a real person. He exists. He moves. He's not just a picture or an album cover, folks. But the one thing that I did do was I dropped the ball yesterday. And I've been saying this for a while, and I've been telling him, I'm like, look, when we finally get you on camera, when we finally get you going, I'm going to give you the introduction that you so much deserve. And I didn't do that yesterday. So I'm going to make good on that, and I'm going to do that right now. So without further ado, the man himself, Mr. Mike D'Abate, Mr. Rhode Island. That's right. He is going to get the introduction that he so much deserves.
Hey, think you could tell us what to do? You think you could tell us what to wear? You think that you're better? Well, you better get ready. Bow to the masters. Break it down!
That's right. He is Mr. Mike D'Abate in the flesh.
Degenerate into something more.
Live on camera.
Of doing what you're told to do. That's a break, boy. Yeah.
Well,
That's a break, little.
How was that? Was that a little bit better? I know it was a little bit clunky here trying to figure this all out, but I felt like I dropped the ball yesterday when I said, when we brought you on, and I was like, you know what? I just wish we had that intro going the very first time people saw you, but.
No, I liked it. It was perfect.
Good.
I mean, DX,
Good.
Come on. You got to love it. You always got to love it. It's, it was a little over the top, but I like it. I thought it was pretty good.
That's what we do around here. We go over the top.
I was actually kind of caught me off guard. I was actually going to have another big reveal coming down of, it's draft day after all, my friend.
It is.
I see you're wearing your TB12 shirt.
As I always am. That's all I wear.
Absolutely. Well, I got a little draft attire for all those in Patriots Nation. For anyone who knows my two passions, they are the New England Patriots and they are the Godfather. What better way, folks, to celebrate tonight's draft than to wear this very shirt?
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. You know what? Give you the full screen treatment there. Oh, yeah. Look at that. That's beautiful. That is nice. I told you, that's the two things that you love. You love the Patriots and something Italian, and it just happens to be the Godfather here.
Well, Bill Belichick, let's hope. I know Patriots Nation is hoping that he is going to be the Don of this draft. Yeah. Could he be bringing back a former Capo regime, a former Paisan? We know all about this, but you saw it as well as I did. I know we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly where we're going here, because I am, there's a lot of things. I'm happy. I'm happy today is today. I'm excited for it to be over with. I'm excited for it to happen, but I'm also excited for it to be over with, because I'm no offense, my friend, and this has nothing to do with him being your paisan. I am so sick of Jimmy G. I can't stand it anymore. My stomach turns every time I hear the name Jimmy Garoppolo. I want to throw up in my mouth, and it's not because of him. It's not fair to him. Let me be clear. This isn't a personal problem with him. It's more or less this just over the top obsession with the Patriots bringing him back, and I, for the life of me, Mike, just cannot understand it. I posed the question yesterday, or I threw it out there on Twitter. I don't know if it was a question, if it was a statement, half and half, I don't know. But I basically said, like, how in the world is a guy who originally got traded for a second round pick somehow upped his value in the 3.5 seasons since he left the Patriots? And by that, I mean, yes, he did go to a Super Bowl, but that was in the only season that he played a full 16-game schedule. He's missed significant amount of time since, and he's pushing 30 years old. So I don't understand how his value has, as some have suggested, vaulted to a number 15 overall pick. I just don't get it. So for the folks out there that think they're smarter than everyone else and saying that, oh, this is obviously going to happen, well, I hope it doesn't, just so we can watch you circle the wagons and say that you never said it. But no, yeah, I don't personally think that this is a big enough upgrade for the Patriots to make this move, and that's kind of really where I'm coming at here. You have two players that neither of which are going to be a long-term solution. That's Jimmy Garoppolo and Cam Newton. One is currently on your roster. One was on your team last year. And, quite frankly, I think he just deserves an opportunity with a normalized season. And that's really where I kind of stand. And I've been pretty firmly entrenched in it for quite some time. It's that I think Cam Newton, and this is going to sound crazy, folks, I know. Coming out of my mouth, that should be the warning for everything that I say. But this in particular is going to sound crazy when I say Cam Newton excelled everywhere but actually passing the ball. And yes, I want him back. And people are like, what the hell are you talking about? The quarterback's supposed to, yes, I know I understand they're supposed to throw the ball. But the point is, based on just an overall improvement of the team around him, having an off season, having practice, and presumably him not catching COVID in the middle of the season, that alone, which are just things that will happen, not having to happen, is going to improve his game. It's going to allow him to better prepare and better, be able to control the offense the way that he never really grasped last season. And to me, going with Cam Newton, who before all of that, it does add a incredibly unique and dynamic aspect to this game, and that's the run game. I mean, let's not forget, this Patriots running game was really good last year. If they can build off that with a slight improvement in the quote-unquote passing game, you're not that far off from being a playoff team. Now, does this mean you're a Super Bowl team? No, I mean, who knows? I mean, there's a lot that Cam has to do. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed, but I want to give him a fair shake. I want to give him a fair shot because I think, again, this idea that he was, some people are so anti-Cam, it's unbelievable. I understand the frustration. Yeah, okay, he's not Tom Brady, and there are risks involved with bringing him back. There's no guarantee that he's going to play better or play, significantly better in the passing game. But to me, it's a risk worth taking because the only real logical move for the Patriots is to draft a quarterback. Ideally, don't force it. I mean, if you can't trade up and get one of the really good signal callers in this draft, don't force the issue and just draft a quarterback. But their best option is to draft a quarterback and run with Cam. If Cam does well, so be it. If he doesn't, well, again, you have that quarterback that you're going to go to anyways, because Jimmy G is not a long-term solution. Okay, you're going to bring him in for what, a year or two? I mean, the 49ers already want to get rid of him, So again, I know that it doesn't mean that they're the smartest team in the room. It's just there's some warning, there's some warning signals there, on top of, again, the health issues, which I think is a huge concern with Jimmy Garoppolo. So, at the end of the day, I think, again, rolling with Cam Newton, which I think is ultimately going to happen. I mean, we've seen, and I'll give you a minute here in a second, but we've seen so many just contradictory reports within minutes of themselves when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo and the Patriots. I happen to fall into the camp that they've always had Cam Newton in mind as their guy, and the draft is the next option, because why sign Cam Newton? Why, pursue a guy that you would only have to give capital up for a marginal at best improvement? You know what I mean? So to me, I look forward and I want Cam to get that opportunity. I think one aspect of his game that has been kind of overlooked and something that he missed last year was the presence of fans. I know they don't have a tangible effect on what happens play by play, but they can have an influence on players themselves and how they interact and how they play. And Cam is a guy that really thrives off of positive or negative fan reaction, and mostly positive. And that's something we didn't get to see last year out of him. And I'm excited to see, because again, everywhere else he excelled. He was a great teammate. He took on, and I don't think people talk about this enough. And like I said, I'm going to shut up here in a minute and give Mike a chance to talk, but I don't think people talk about this enough. But he took on the role of being the guy after the guy, something that is one of the most unfavorable positions to be in. He took over for the guy who was the guy in Tom Brady, and he handled it as well as anyone could have imagined. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Add in the fact that he was loved by his teammates. I mean, to come in such short order and become a leader within this group, that's no easy feat. I mean, this is a locker room full of Super Bowl champion veteran players, and he came in and commanded the room. So when I'm looking at a checklist of things the quarterback does well, he checks the boxes on everything but passing from his first season. And I know, once again, I know it sounds crazy, but just based on the normalcy of this season, I'm willing to bet you're going to see a pretty marked improvement from Cam in that area.
Yeah, you're absolutely going to see an improvement from Cam. Look, I agree with everything that you said. Jimmy Garoppolo coming back is a story that I think is being 2020 romanticized in terms of hindsight by a lot of members of the media, especially up in this area. Jimmy had a lot of support when he was here in New England, and justified. I mean, Jimmy came in, played the position well, admirably filled in for Tom Brady while he was out. And I think a lot of people looked at that and said, well, Bill Belichick spent that capital on him for a reason. What worries me a little bit, and I saw you tweet this out last night, is giving the keys to the kingdom to someone that fell out of favor, apparently, with Kyle Shanahan, who, say what you will about Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan is one of the top offensive minds in the NFL right now, and I don't hesitate to say that. He definitely is one of the best when it comes to being to orchestrate an offense. If he's seeing something in Jimmy that leads him to believe this is not the guy we thought we were getting, this is not the type of player that we want here in San Francisco, then what makes you think that it's going to work here? Is the Belichick effect that much? I don't know. I think the jury's still out on that to me. I believe that the Patriots will end up trying to get a quarterback of the future, or a quarterback that they can rely on through the draft. I don't see this happening. But again, I mean, you never really know with Bill Belichick. And if there's something really there with Jimmy Garoppolo and he feels that this is the guy, then he's going to make the move. He's not going to worry about how it looks to anybody else. He's going to worry about how it looks to him. But bottom line, it's not what I would do. And I don't think this is as much of a slam dunk or a foregone conclusion as people are making it out to be.
Yeah, and that's really the thing. It's and I alluded to the fact that we got so many contradictory tweets yesterday, just based on, they're talking about working out a contract, to no, there's no contract being discussed. And look, I said if San Francisco comes to Bill Belichick and says, look, if you have a 7th round pick, we'll take it. Okay, maybe, but even then, I just don't see it, because first of all, and we hear Tom Brady say this all the time, it's like your best quality as a quarterback is your availability. I mean, are you able to be there for your team each and every week? And Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't been. And, we don't even have to look far to see an example. I mean, he's played so little with the Patriots, but yet he still missed time for injuries. And nothing has changed since that, except for the one season, which, again, at this point seems more like an outlier than the normal. And that's, him playing a full season. So, I look at it and I say, okay, we can see it up on the screen right now. At the very least, Cam Newton gives you an advantage in the running game that not too many other teams have. And that's something that can really give you a leg up. Add in the fact that now you actually have a very skilled group of wideouts and tight ends. And I think that's a huge improvement, because and people don't want to hear it. I don't mean to keep. Actually, I kind of do. But to go back to Tom Brady for a minute, I think that his 2019 was framed and discussed so inaccurately, and it only becomes even further proof that so many people were wrong about him in 2019. And you remember the story. It was, oh, he's fallen off because of his age. No. And look, I was one of the maniacs that was sitting there every single day saying, no, you're wrong. I don't. His stats may have dropped, quote unquote, but it has nothing to do with his physicality. And I felt that it was more or less, really a limited supporting cast around him. And as we saw, it was the same case last year, because there wasn't that much of a difference when it comes to who was out there around the quarterback. And I think, instead of looking at that 2019 season as a poor season from Tom Brady, I think we can, if you're realistic and actually objective, you can sit there and say, wow, he literally squeezed every ounce of talent out of this team and dragged them to it. I mean, he took this team to a 12-4 record through 24 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions. Right. Like, people saw that inaccurately as him falling off because of age. Well, they only said that because they didn't actually watch him play. They just read the stat box, and that's all they based it on. And, this isn't meant to pile on Cam Newton, because no one is realistically thinking Cam Newton is Tom Brady. So, give him more talent like they have. Give him a couple dynamic receivers, especially when it comes to the tight ends. And you could see a 20, 30% improvement in the passing game. And even that would be enough to make this team from a sub 500 to potentially a playoff team. So to me, it makes no sense, no logistical sense to go out and get Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think he's a game-changing quarterback. I don't think he's a franchise-leading, which saw him in the screen there a minute ago down on the sidelines. I don't see him as that guy, and I don't understand the people that do. I don't.
Again, I think it's 2020 romanticized hindsight vision. I think a lot of people are looking at Jimmy as the one that got away. And, for lack of a better term, I can understand a lot of where the fandom comes from, because there's that mystique about Jimmy that he was supposed to be the guy, the heir apparent to Tom Brady. He never got his fair shake, is what I'm hearing from a lot of people. What he could have done in this offense is something that was really, amazing. And we hear this all the time about Jimmy, but I mean, we've failed to see it on a consistent basis. When he's on, Jimmy is as good as anybody in the league. He can hang with anybody. He definitely has the ability to step up, move around in the pocket. He's not the dual quarterback threat. I've seen people, he can extend plays with his legs and he can run the RPO. And that's not the type of quarterback that Jimmy Garoppolo is. Anybody that's watched him knows that. But at the same time, he is capable of stepping up, maneuvering around in the pocket. He's got great pocket movement, and then he does have the ability to step up, make a strike when he needs to. His problem has been staying on the field. That's a big problem. You mentioned Tom Brady's comment about being available. The best ability for a quarterback is availability. And we've seen that over and over again. If you're not reliable and you can't stay on the field, it's going to react negatively on you. And in my opinion, I think that there could be some issues down the line if Jimmy does decide that he's not going to, be able to answer the call here in New England or wherever he's happens to be. So I think New England right now is primed to, again, use the draft, be able to step up, maybe move up in the draft to get someone that could be their quarterback of the future. But I don't know. I don't see a lot of why the hype is so strong when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo. I understand where people are coming from when it comes to, he knows the system and Bill Belichick wanted him, but I think that ship has sailed. Yeah. And I think if you're still looking at it that way, you might be looking at things through a rose-colored glass.
Well, and that's the thing. There's no doubt at one point Belichick wanted him. He drafted him. Of course he wanted him. But as I've said so many times before, it's not. People want to believe that he was forced to trade Jimmy Garoppolo by some mandate from Robert Kraft and complaining from Tom Brady, and that's just not true. Essentially, people who believe that are the ones that are really pushing the idea that Belichick is just obsessed with reacquiring Jimmy Garoppolo and proving, quote unquote, to anyone that, hey, Jimmy's the guy and I could have won with anyone. No, the reality of it is, and I'll say it again, that Tom Brady's play forced the trade. It had nothing to do with Robert Kraft, didn't have anything to do with Tom going in and locking Jimmy Garoppolo. Bill Belichick drafted a guy because he had an aging quarterback. And conventional wisdom says, well, eventually that quarterback isn't going to play at a high level past the age of 40. Right. Well, Tom Brady's just not a guy. I mean, he is obviously breaking down those walls. So, yeah, do I fault Bill Belichick for planning ahead? Absolutely not. Do I fault him for not seeing that Tom Brady was going to be playing MVP football at age 43? No, it just, look, who would have thought? If he would have known that, he would have signed him to a 10-year deal when he was 37 years old, right, and he'd still be a Patriot right now. The problem is you can't go back in time and do that. So when it came to 2019, especially, both parties knew, Brady, Belichick, that there was no way to work out this deal because, like Tom wanted more security than 1 year. And at this point, it was too far into the year-to-year deal aspect of the game for the Patriots to do that because, as we knew, there's dead money that always has to be paid. Eventually, that bill's going to be paid, and the Patriots didn't have enough ability to move that around, hence Tom Brady's with Tampa. But if you were to ask Bill Belichick back in, 2016, 2015, if someone told him, like, hey, yeah, Tom's going to be winning Super Bowls at 43 and still playing at a high level, guess what? He signs them the next day. I guarantee you that. And we're not talking about Jimmy G. So at one point, Bill Belichick liked Jimmy G, naturally, because he drafted him.
Right.
But this idea that he's obsessed with going back to the well, and again, it's not to say that Jimmy G sucks. I don't think he does. He's a good quarterback when he's on the field. But that's it. He's a good quarterback. That's as far as I'm going to go. And that's if he's on the field. And he's only on the field 50% of the time. It's like, what was it? 60% of the time it works every time? No. Well, 50% of the time with Jimmy G, he's on the field, and sometimes it works. And other times, like, hey, he's a guy. He's not Tom Brady. He's not a upper echelon quarterback. He's not going to win MVPs, or at least in my opinion. So why give up capital to go get him when you already have a quarterback and you're still going to, regardless of whether or not you pick him or acquire him, you're still looking for that quarterback of the future. So what do you really do? You just waste draft capital. So again, I'm excited for today, if only to end the Jimmy Garoppolo love affair, the obsession from Patriots media, Patriots fans, and just people out there in the NFL. End it. No, just say no to Jimmy G. I'm going to put that up on the screen right now. Just say no to Jimmy G.
Well, you and I both know exactly where this is coming from. Not so much from a local perspective, because I think Jimmy has support in the local media for a reason. And again, I've said that before. He's always treated the media with a lot of respect, somebody that's easy to cover, somebody that's, a player that I know a lot of media members would be glad to see come back. And that's not to say that they don't like Cam. I heard nothing but positive things about covering Cam last year. I've had a great experience covering him. There really hasn't been any type of issue with Cam Newton. What this comes from, especially from a national perspective, is it feeds into the Brady Belichick narrative. And having Jimmy G back in the lineup all of a sudden gives Bill Belichick that ammunition, that piece that everybody's been wanting to give him. Well, now Belichick's got his heir apparent. Now, can he mold Jimmy Garoppolo into what he thought he could be? Now, can he mold Jimmy Garoppolo into the next Tom Brady, into the next quarterback of the future for the New England Patriots? The next dynasty is born with Jimmy G as the quarterback. These are the narratives that are being written. But I can tell you, there are definitely already articles in the can that are ready, that are in that limbo area, ready to be published at a moment's notice if Jimmy ends up in New England. So you wonder why there's a media rush to be able to push this through. That's a big part of it.
Yep. No, I 100% agree with that. I mean, it is click gold, out there for people. There's, like you said, there's articles that have been pre-written talking about, Belichick. Look, to be honest with you, outside of some normal competitiveness that everyone that's an athlete can attest to, I don't think that there's this obsession for him to prove he can do anything without Tom Brady. Like, when did Bill Belichick become so what would be the word to describe that? So self-obsessed, or
Mhm.
so I don't know, a needing approval. Like I just don't understand it. Like, to me, that's so far off his character. Like, when has he ever cared about the conventional thinking of football media or fans? He
And people
doesn't.
are buying, yeah, they'll
Yeah.
buy into the national narrative. They look at Bill Belichick, they look at the sound bites. Most people think of Bill Belichick, and it amazes me that you'll find people within within New England, outside of New England, that the first thing they'll think of when they think of Bill Belichick is we're on to Cincinnati. They
Yeah.
automatically think that's his personality with everything. That's how he treats people. That's how he treats everyone in his personal life. That's Bill
Hmm.
Belichick in a nutshell. I can tell you, folks, having covered Bill for a couple of years up here, and Ian can tell you the same thing. He's covered Bill as well as a member of the Patriots media. That's not him. That's not
Hmm.
who he is. And anybody that plays for him understands the level of respect, the deep caring that he has for his players, for the game. You'll never find someone that's really more in tune with trying to do what's best for everyone around him than Bill Belichick. And in my opinion, if he believes that Jimmy is the guy that's going to lead him
Hmm.
there, he'll make the move. But if he doesn't believe that he's going to get fair value in return, he's not going to make the move. He's not going to do it just to satisfy his own ego. That's not his MO. That's not who he is. He's not out to stick it to Tom Brady. I don't care what anybody will tell you. They'll tell you, oh, we have inside information, or oh, we have this, we have that. No, you don't. No, you don't. And stop pretending that you do, because it's disingenuous and it's an insult to all the parties that are involved.
Yeah.
But it's an argument for another day, bud. Bottom line, if the Patriots make a move in this draft tonight, and I'm hearing it's a possibility, I don't think it's going to be a move for Jimmy. I think it's going to be a move to move up in this draft to try to get one of two quarterbacks that might slip to them. We're talking right now either Freudian slip. We're talking right now either Trey Lance of North Dakota State or Justin Fields of Ohio
Hmm.
State. By all consensus, it looks like Mac Jones is going to go number 3 to the San Francisco 49ers.
Hmm.
So if that is indeed the case, this will be interesting. It's going to be a fun draft night, no question.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited for it. Not just because hopefully this ends the Jimmy G talk, but again, there is a different view of this draft as there has been in years past, especially speaking about the Patriots, and it's not just the Patriots, obviously, that are big players in this draft. There's a lot to look forward to, and really it's controlled by the 49ers, and that's kind of what it is. What do they do? 49ers and the Falcons, at the top of the draft are really the two teams that could turn this whole draft upside down. Because I agree with you. I think the first 3 picks off the board are going to be quarterbacks. I do believe it's going to be Mac Jones, assuming that, he's not by San Francisco, that he's not, taken before. But, Atlanta could turn it all upside down if they decide to go quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people see them going Kyle Pitts route, and I get that. I think that's a good move. If they do decide to go quarterback, then I don't think it's a bad move, because hey, Matt Ryan is, he's a really good quarterback, but he's getting older, and this Atlanta team's kind of in a no-win area right now, because they're not good enough currently constituted to compete for a Super Bowl. They have, no matter what they do to improve, they always have to get past Tom Brady from here on out, which is not clearly not an easy thing to do. So where do they go? Do they try to win now, or do they say, hey, you know what, screw it, we're going to trade Julio Jones, we're going to draft a quarterback, we're going to accumulate capital. Maybe Matt Ryan plays out one more year in Atlanta and he gets moved. We've seen it now. Veteran quarterbacks move all the time. That's just how it is. So maybe Atlanta decides to turn everything upside down, or they keep going with what everyone expects and has them draft Kyle Pitts. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting nonetheless. And the reality of it is the draft is a crapshoot anyways. But I think more so this year, based on, well, I mean, we have players that are projected to go in the top 15 that didn't even play last year because of opting out. And that's not a negative on them. It's just, how often do you get that where, oh, you're talking about a top potential pick that hasn't played since 2019, So, yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting to see. I do think that there is potential that the Patriots try and move up to get a quarterback, because like I was kind of starting to get to, this is the first time in a long time that's really been a priority. Like I could never really see them making a big move up, talking into the first round. They drafted quarterback while Tom Brady was here, and they never did. I mean, they always kind of just looked for the bargain basement guy who dropped, maybe fell into a third or fourth round, and that's who they went with, because, well, at the end of the day, you're at Tom Brady. You're not going to force him out with a young kid. He's going to play until, obviously until 2019. Right. But so it's interesting from a Patriots perspective, but just from an NFL perspective, everyone knows what's going to happen until it actually happens. And outside of Trevor Lawrence going first overall, I mean, really anything could happen. What if the Jets decide to not go, and pick Zach Wilson? What if they just decide not to? And then all of a sudden everything gets turned upside down. And here we are talking later tonight about just the ridiculousness of the first round, which, hey, at the end of the day, maybe a handful of these guys are going to be longtime NFL players. But the reality of it is, like I said before, it's a crapshoot. So you never really know. You never know.
It'd be the ultimate Jet move to completely turn the draft on its ear, wouldn't it? It really would be.
And a negative for the Jets way, too. Although, look, I will say I have far more hope or higher expectations for the Joe Douglas regime than I ever did for anything that we've seen in recent history from the New York Jets. Yep. But they're still the Jets. So there's always that possibility that at the very last second, a little voice of Woody Johnson comes into your ear and tells you to do something that you shouldn't.
Sorry, Jets fans, you're still guilty until proven innocent. So.
No, it's gonna be a lot of proving otherwise before that moniker is lost. It's kind of like the Texans.
Oh yeah,
I said I will never believe in the Texans until they win a Super Bowl. I don't care if they get, they win 3. No, I don't care. Nope. They have to win a Super Bowl for me to ever believe in anything that they do. I will not believe in them up till, 2 minutes left. They could be up by 21 points in the Super Bowl. I will not believe in them until the clock hits 0. Nice. And they've actually won the Super Bowl. Kind of the same with the Jets. Like, look, at the end of the day, I'm not really going to believe in the Jets until they actually win, because then it's just, rinse and repeat, essentially. What is it? Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, now presumably Zach Wilson. It's a never-ending run of quarterbacks, and that's why it's so funny. It always comes back to quarterbacks with me, especially. But people sit there and swear up and down that wins aren't a quarterback stat. But here we are preparing for yet again quarterbacks to just dominate the top of the draft. Why? Because they're the most important player on the field. I don't care if you have 53, 173. It doesn't matter. The quarterback is clearly the very most important player. And if you don't have a quarterback, I don't care how good your defense is. I don't care how good your supporting cast is. If you don't have a good quarterback, you don't have anything.
So it's the marquee position for a reason. I mean, and it's going, and it will continue to be, and it always will be. That's why so many quarterbacks are scheduled to come off the board early in this draft. Generally, it's a position that's targeted very early anyway, but this year you've got some really potential talent, game changers that could change the face of a franchise. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is going number 1 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think there's any question about that. There shouldn't be. He's a number 1 draft pick, and he's going to make Jacksonville fans happy for a number of years. Zach Wilson, I mean, you're going to hear stories about or concerns about him going to the Jets. A lot of people think that they essentially traded Sam Darnold for Sam Darnold. But bottom line, Zach has the ability to step up, make throws. He can be a good quarterback in this league. And if the Jets see something in him, they may have found their quarterback that they've been searching for 30 years now?
Yeah. Actually, sorry, no, like 50.
I can't help myself.
It's been since 1969.
Exactly.
They've been
Joe Willie Namath, folks. That's basically it. But all respect to Boomer Esiason, who I happen to like in a Jets uniform. But getting back to my original point is that you're going to look at Wilson coming off the board probably at number 2. The Niners look like they're ready to pull the trigger and make the deal for Mac Jones at number 3. You're going to hear a lot of detractors on Mac. I'm not one of them. I've been high on Mac for a while because I love the cerebral way that he plays the game. He's had his praises sung by people that know the Patriots system very well. Guys like Dante Scarnecchia, Charlie Weiss, Michael Lombardi. They've all had great things to say about Mac. He's not the most athletic quarterback in this draft. He's not the guy with the strongest arm. But what he'll do is he'll be able to maneuver around in the pocket. He's got better pocket movement than people give him credit for. He can step up, he can deliver a strike, and he can throw guys open. That's something that is very rare amongst quarterbacks, especially in this league right now. That, to me, is why I think San Francisco is so enamored with him. But they could go a different way. They could go Justin Fields. They could go Trey Lance. These two guys are franchise quarterbacks as well, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are worried about Fields' dedication to the game, his dedication to football. Some will tell you that Ohio State quarterbacks just simply can't succeed in this league because of the way the school plays as opposed to the way that they play in the pros. But I can tell you that the upside there for a guy like Justin Fields and the talent he brings to the table, to me, makes it worth the investment. So if you're going to invest in someone, Justin Fields is definitely a guy that can do it. And Trey Lance can play all over the field. He can align in the pistol. He can align in the shot. He can definitely step up, make throws down the field. He can beat you with his arm, but he's a dual threat quarterback that can really beat you with his legs. And if he's got a strong offensive line blocking in front of him, the sky's the limit there. So again, this is going to be interesting. Which teams are jockeying for position to get a quarterback? We saw the deal yesterday with Carolina. We saw, Atlanta now is rumored to be taking Kyle Pitts with the number 4 pick. That takes them out of the quarterback discussion. There had been some discussion that they may be in line to take a quarterback, the heir apparent to Matt Ryan. And, last but certainly not least, you look at the Denver Broncos now. We're bringing Teddy Bridgewater. They've got Drew Lock, but we're hearing they may not be done in the quarterback mix yet. Where does that leave Drew Lock? So there's a lot of moving parts that could be a possibility. You may see a lot of different quarterbacks changing sides, flipping sides, but in, 48 to 72 hours, all of our questions will be answered. Or will they?
Ooh, I like that. No, they probably won't because, again, there'll be another obsession. And then, I have this sneaky feeling that regardless if Jimmy G doesn't end up a Patriot, the obsession by the same people will continue. It'll just adapt and evolve. And again, I mean, if that doesn't speak to how important a quarterback is, just think about all this nonsense for getting mediocre to okay quarterbacks. Like, I'm not here to rip on Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock, but that's a horribly mediocre quarterback room, and yet you're still giving up capital, and people want these guys to move around. And it's like it shows how important a quarterback is and how much you need someone who's at least very competent. More than likely, you need someone who's elite if you're going to want to have continued success. I mean, just look across the boards to teams that win all the time. They have elite quarterbacks, not good ones, but elite ones, and it's going to be fun, and we're going to have some fun here at Full Press Coverage because we're going to be having a bit of a live draft party or draft reaction during the first round here tonight. So definitely stay tuned in to at Full Press Radio, and of course, just keep an eye on our Twitter accounts because we will certainly be tweeting it out. And it should be fun. It should be interesting, and hopefully things go crazy so we have a lot to talk about. And of course, we're going to have the phone lines open for anyone who wants to join in and chime in during the draft, who wants to give their opinion and thoughts and whatever. So hopefully the Jags go crazy and draft a kicker first overall, and we can just go from there. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's what we're getting ourselves into later today. So I'd be happy about that. But at the end of the day, honestly, I don't want to say it's going to be chalk, but I don't think there's going to be anything crazy aside. Like, I do kind of expect the Patriots to make a move. I don't see them picking at 15. But I wouldn't be surprised if they traded back either. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I would not be surprised if they traded back. And I think some people would lose their absolute bleep if the Patriots traded back, and God forbid if they traded out of the first round. Oh my God, there'll be pitchforks and a mob banging on Gillette door, and it would be it'd be hilarious.
You want to talk total Pete Venkman from Ghostbusters? Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Yeah,
would be that if he does trade out. I agree with you. I think if the Patriots are sitting there at 15, unless a blockbuster game changer is sitting there that you can pick with the number 15 pick and be confident that this is going to be a pick that can sustain you for a number of years, then yeah, they're going to trade out. And if they trade back in the first round, or if they trade out of the first round, yeah, people are going to lose their minds. But ultimately, Bill's going to do what he believes is best for the football team. He's not going to worry about what people like you and me are going to say about him the following day. He's not worried about what the beat writers are going to write about him the following morning. He's not going to worry about the prayer circle fan bases on Twitter or anything like that. He's going to do what he believes is best. Now, is that the best for the football team? I mean, I still haven't seen any hard evidence that his skills as a drafter or his skills as a GM are so poor in this league that he doesn't belong having the job that he has. I think that's disingenuous, and I think it's ridiculous. So, regardless of what, I'm going to give him the chance, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And one thing is certain: if he feels that number 15 gives him the best chance to improve this team, he'll make the pick. If he feels that the value is better off trading down or trading out of the first round, he'll do that too. I still think there's a lot of first round talent there, too much for him to completely trade out of it. That's just my opinion, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, let's make one thing clear here. If you think Bill Belichick's a poor GM or a poor drafter, you're wrong. You're wrong. I mean, there's no gray area. There's no, you are wrong. Because the biggest problem people have, and I've noticed this, it's like they want to say he's a terrible drafter. Relative to who, though? It's all about relativity. Like you can only determine whether or not he's a poor drafter based on, his peers.
Right.
Well, guess what? I would take him over pretty much anyways. Pretty much anyone. I'm reading one of the notes on the chats here, so I kind of mix those two words in there. See, look, we get to include some of our tweets here if you're paying attention. But it's one of the things that I just don't get, because people speak so confidently and his ability. Oh, is it time for Bill, the GM, to move on? I'm like, wait a minute. Like, what
do you want to bring in to replace him?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Like, who are you going to bring in? Yeah. Ozzie Newsome? Is that the guy? No. Like, okay, great. I mean, it's like, do you want to go get Jason Licht? Yeah, he's had a great offseason with it. Well, guess what? He's employed by the Buccaneers. And prior to this year, his reputation was kind of going downhill based on some of the moves that he had made. Now, again, was that fair to him? I don't think so, because I think as we've watched this year play out, there was a lot of talent on that Bucs roster that he was, partly responsible for. But, people look at him and call him this great. Well, yeah, he had a great offseason, whatnot. He hasn't won 6 Super Bowls. He hasn't built a contender that hasn't had a losing season in 20, or hadn't had a losing season in 20 years. So I don't get it. And I ask people all the time, like, okay, he's bad relative to who? Like, who is he lagging so far behind that you feel the need to get rid of him as the general manager? Right. When, again, and then they'll bring up draft picks, and I'm like, Jesus. I don't even know what to say, because it's like, okay, well, every team misses. We literally just saw 2 teams that had the first and second overall pick just 3 years ago.
Right.
4 years ago, whatever it was, whenever Carson Wentz and Jared Goff were drafted, both take quarterbacks, both take players that were clearly the quote unquote top of the draft. And guess what? Neither are with their teams anymore.
Right.
What does that say about their GMs? So again, this idea that Belichick's a bad GM, a bad whatever, that's absurd. You're wrong. It's dumb. It's a dumb comment. And if you're offended by that, well, I intended you to be, because you need to open your eyes and realize that what you're saying it's not a good argument. And to sit here and continually beat the draw, Belichick the GM, this, Belichick, no. Belichick the GM is arguably the best GM in football. Convince me otherwise. Prove to me otherwise. And don't bring up just his failures because, well, yeah, guess what? The draft isn't perfect. No one expects him to be perfect. But when you just bring up his failures and not everyone else's, then what you're telling me is you have an agenda. You don't want to know the truth. And the truth is, Bill the GM is still one of, if not the best GM in football. And tough shit. Oops.
It's true. No, it really is. I mean, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. That really is what it comes down to. I mean, you want to start, attacking Bill Belichick's misses. Yeah, he's missed some draft picks. I think every GM, every organization has missed draft picks. It amazes me that Bill Belichick's are the only ones that are amplified to a level that you can't even imagine.
Yeah,
I get it. He's held to a different standard. And when you're held to a different standard, you have to be ready to accept that type of criticism. But at the same time, also be realistic and also be fair when it comes. And if you do that, then, obviously you'll see that he's hit on more than he's missed, in my opinion. I mean, when you take a look at what he's done throughout the league. And one point that our good friend Miguel, the Pats cap, brought up on Twitter the other day is everybody's saying, oh, Bill Belichick never trades up. He never, ever, ever trades up.
Except he does.
He's traded back only one more time. He's traded up 27 times. He's traded back 28 times. That should tell you something. It is almost razor thin, but the narrative on that is something you would never believe. No one would believe it.
And I say it all the time. Perception is not reality. It's not always reality. Because, anyone who's followed the Patriots, and again, I keep bringing it back to Tom Brady because I'm trying to meet my Tom Brady quota for the show.
You're almost there, bud.
Yeah, almost there. I try to do 12 every show in honor of number 12. We should know. We should know perception isn't always reality because we've heard people try to talk about Tom Brady and still continue to do it and do it so inaccurately. It's mind-boggling that people could think so, such the opposite of what the truth is. And that's, basically because, it's easy to read headlines and believe narratives than to actually do the work yourself. And that was I'm glad you brought that up because I saw that too. And I'm like, look, that's a prime example of someone speaking so confidently about something and not having a clue as to what it is. And you know what, that actually reminds me, and I'm going to look this up here because I learned a new word recently, and it was perfect because I think it was speaking to me, not because it was me, but because I deal with people like this all the time, and I'm going to look it up real quick because it's pretty complicated. I want to make sure that I get it right. But again, you sit there and it's like very easily you can disprove some of these things. Like you said, I mean, someone's sitting there saying, oh, he always trades back. Well, no, he doesn't. And it's very easy to just look up the raw results of whether he traded back and forth. And you see, well, that narrative is complete. But you know what? People believe it. If you say someone, do the Patriots always trade back? Oh, of course, they always trade back. Well, okay, that's it. You're just going to believe that and be okay with it. So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm, again, it just further emphasizes that, well, guess what? Perception isn't always reality. So stop just blindly believing things that you read in headlines. And here's the word for you: ultra-crepidarian. I love it. Ultra-crepidarian. You know what it means? It means a person who gives opinions on subject they know nothing about. I'm pretty sure Twitter was originally going to name it Ultra-Crepidarian Twitter. I don't know, whatever. But they realized it didn't flow off the tongue as well as just Twitter. No, I love that word because there's so many of them out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally just open up Twitter and you have people, not just speaking on matters that they don't understand, but so confidently speak. And that's what gets me. They're so confident. Mm-hmm. But all they have to do is do a simple bit of research. Let's go back to Spygate. Oh, they taped practices. I know it happened. Well, no, you don't, because it didn't happen. So you don't know it. And 30 seconds of research, you would have, if you really wanted an answer, you'd find a quick link, you'd be like, oh, wait, let me read that. Oh, okay, all right. So this didn't really happen the way I think it was, and I'm no longer going to bring. No, people don't do that. They just blindly say what it is, what they think, and most people don't think correctly. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Ultra-crepidarians, my friend. Ultra-crepidarians. Say that 27 times fast.
That's true.
In honor of all 27 New York Yankees.
Oh, I'll leave that to you with all due respect, bud. But just all kidding aside, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, but it's because it's easier not to do the research. It's easier to believe the narrative. It's easier to drink the sand. And I know I use that all the time, but that's exactly what it is. It's drinking the sand. It's people they believe what they want to believe because it fits their narrative. And yep. Yeah, I like that. You got that.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
This stuff now. This is excellent.
It's cool. It's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
But no, this ultra crepidarian. Yeah, I'm gonna start creeping that into.
I'm using it.
My everyday lexicon. I like that.
It. I mean, really, it sums up Twitter in a nutshell. And just really social media or social commentary in general. Let's forget about sports. I mean, social commentary in general. I mean, how many people get up and talk about things they literally know nothing about, and no one. And that's the problem too. Here's the biggest problem: people don't ever get called out for it. If you're wrong, you're wrong, and no one cares. I mean, people call you out, but no one cares. I mean, you get and we see it all the time in these Twitter fan circles of people just throwing nonsense up against the wall, but no one forgets when they're wrong. I mean, people forget that they're wrong 90% of the time, but
right.
Hey, as long as you frame it correctly, you're all set and you don't have to worry about it. So,
exactly.
so ultra crepidarian, I'm going to use it. It's going to become a staple in my my vocabulary moving forward, because again, I deal with a lot of these crepidarians. It's a little that makes it a little bit more harsh on them. These creps, these crepidarians sounds very.
You take the ultra out of their name, all of a sudden you're lessening their impact, right?
Yeah, exactly. See, words have a lot.
They're not even ultra crepidarians.
Yeah, no, you're just a crep. You're a crepidarian. That sounds offensive. I apologize if in some language that is something offensive. I really don't. See, I'm being an ultra crepidarian right now because I'm speaking about words that I don't necessarily know a lot about. Forget that. I'm losing my speech today. So yeah, there's a lot of them out there. Bottom line, tonight's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Like I mentioned before, we are going to be on. And I missed this actually earlier, but it looks like it's our friend from New Hampshire or over there. Is it Blackie? I can't tell that number, but it says, see what Cam can do in year 2 in the system. Yeah, exactly. I agree. And I think that's ultimately what you're going to get today, Patriots fans. So if you're going to tune in expecting them to go get Jimmy Garoppolo and march into the Super Bowl, well, you're going to be disappointed. I think the Patriots, my gut tells me they're actually going to trade up and draft a quarterback. Because I look at it as the best solution for this team. Roll with Cam, draft a quarterback. If you have to go back to the well next year, you have to go back to the well next year. That's just how it is. Mm-hmm. But make the appropriate move now. Don't go back to something that you already know what you're going to get out of it, and that's Jimmy G. So that's how I feel about it. I am excited for tonight. It should be very again interesting. This is hopes are grown tonight. I mean, the hopes of franchises are never at their highest in some cases on this day. The Jets in particular, teams like the Jaguars, you have hope, but talk to me in 6 months when maybe that hope isn't quite as high. But nonetheless, this is always an exciting moment. And let's not forget, ultimately, this day is about the players drafted. A lot of them.
So well said.
This could be, this could be the highlight of their career is tonight. And I think far too often, people discuss these players as if they're just inanimate objects, Mm-hmm. And I think it's been normalized to the point where no one sees it as a problem. But for example, there's clearly a imbalance in how different players are approached and analyzed, and that's a problem that has to be fixed. The solution to that is not to therefore go and point out the flaws of others. And that's really one, and I'm kind of getting on a soapbox here late, but it's something I see all the time, and we talk about the quarterbacks, like instances of mistakes being brought up for one guy versus the next. That's a problem. I mean, there's obviously a racial motivation behind that needs to be fixed. I'm not saying that's not the case, but in order to fix that, you don't go and then point out the flaws of other players, because all it becomes is just this negativity. It's like, why is this person bad? As opposed to, why do they deserve to get drafted? Or why do they deserve to be here? Because they worked hard. It's like that whole, people make jokes about it all the time, but and rightfully so, because hopefully, eventually this will change. But this whole idea that, you have to highlight the sad story in the background. It's like, look, like, stop exploiting these kids,
right?
And using their darkest time to increase your ratings and create some faux sense of caring. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I like I said, I don't want to get on the soapbox yet. I'll save that for tomorrow. We're already past our time here. There's a lot I want to say on that matter, and I think I kind of started something I couldn't quite finish in time. So I'm going to put a curve on that. I'll just say this: stop trying to bring kids down to boost others in this draft. Focus on what they do on the field. Stop bringing attention to maybe things that they've done in the past, or at least don't do it with the motivation of trying to prop someone else up, because then again, all you're doing is just attacking these kids for no reason. So let's enjoy it tonight. Let's have fun. Let's get excited for what's inevitably going to be a absolute S show from certain fan bases, no matter what happens tonight. And again, the hopes of many franchises will be at their very peak by the end of the night. So, Mike, this was a blast. We're going to be back tomorrow to break down round one, maybe give our thoughts on round two. And of course, if you are tuning in tonight, we'll be on, our full press coverage team will be on around 7:30, 7:45, kind of leading up into the draft. And we're going to stay on as long as possible to discuss some of the moves and trades that are made. So everyone, give us a follow on Twitter at FPC Radio Live, at Full Press Radio. I am at IGLEN31. He is at MDABATEFPC. And of course, follow fullpresscoverage.com for all your draft coverage. So have a great